Greetings, YouTube. Someone on one of the Gamma World mailing lists mentioned a generation ship just, I think, today. Now, a generation ship is a concept of getting from one star system to another at sublight speeds. Because you're moving so slowly, the ship's going to take hundreds, possibly thousands of years to get to its destination. So the crew is not going to live long enough, so they raise the next crew. They have families, they raise the next crew, and they then take over the ship, then raise the next crew, and the next crew. You get the idea, one generation after another. So the generation ship is large. It's a floating island, essentially, in space. And one of the old school role-playing games that epitomizes this particular genre so well is known as Metamorphosis Alpha, which is a game that came out, I think, in '78, but I could be wrong. And it deals with the SS Warden, a generation ship that's going to, I don't remember what star system. But the ship passes through a mysterious radiation cloud, which kills the crew, mutates a lot of the passengers, a lot of the families of the crew, and the entire social structure breaks down into barbarity. Jump ahead a few generations, and the people on board the ship are unaware that they're on a ship. They don't realize this. The player characters are mutants or pure strain humans, or mutant animals of some variety, and it is their goal to discover they're on a ship, and then to, of course, get the ship to its final destination if things go well. And there's a new version of this game coming out in the near future. And Metamorphosis Alpha is one of those games like Gamma World that keeps coming back. I think I own at least 3 different versions of the game. And again, there's another one coming out, and I think there's one I missed, so I don't know how many editions they're actually up to. It's a perennial favorite. People love this idea. And someone posted a link to an image of the newest version of the SS Warden, and it looks a lot like a thin blimp, very long. If you look at it from the top, it's oval shaped, and each level is like dozens of levels, and each one is the size of Greenland. It's a very big place, and it got me thinking. This ship looks like a blimp, except you're in space. You don't need to be aerodynamic. Now, the makers of this new version said that it's cooler looking, and that there are reasons for, in case you find yourself in a situation where you need to defend yourself, a smaller target is better. But it's the size of Greenland. I just can't imagine that making this shape is going to make you any less likely to be hit by an incoming enemy weapon. And frankly, you can run this game without having to have there be aliens. You can run this game with just the humans and the mutants on board this vessel without any aliens. So there may never be any threat from the outside. But the last time I used the generation ship idea, I don't know, it must have been 14 or 15 years ago now, it was I ran Gamma World 4th edition. I just used the idea of a generation ship, but I ran it as a cube, a Borg cube. It's the most efficient space shape for the maximized space available. And each layer, again, the cube was like 1,000 miles on a side. It was a big structure. And the player characters, I believe, were 2 mutant felines from a tribe of mutant felines, and the ship was malfunctioning. So the weather had gotten wacky, the gravitational fields that keep the place functioning, because when you're a cube, you can't really spin for gravity, so you have to have artificial gravity to be a feature. If you want to spin a ship for gravity, you really need to make it a cylinder, and you spin it and you live on the inside of the cylinder, which is fine, but it means that you can very easily tell that you're on a ship. You just look across the cylinder and there's that. So you need to give the illusion that you're not on a ship. So you have to make flat planes, flat levels, and the only way to have that in a functioning ship with gravity is if you have artificial gravity, the kind you can turn on and off. So the player characters were supposed to go out and figure out why things were so weird, and they got themselves a boat, and they got into the biggest river, and it was a river that actually ran diagonally across the particular level that they were on this vessel. And eventually they found themselves at the end of the river, because the river does end because it goes into a wall, but you couldn't see the wall. It was an illusion, much like the Truman Show. You couldn't see it was there until you were right up against it. And then they found themselves in a corridor. And they're like, why are we in a corridor? And it actually got to the point where they were starting to discover that they were on a ship when, through circumstances beyond my control, the game basically just ended. But it was a nice idea, and I really enjoyed the setup, and I think that it would have been a functional, an interesting campaign if it had gone a little further. But looking at the SS Warden from yesterday, or today, I don't remember which, I've been up since 3:30 a.m., so I have when yesterday and today it starts and stops, a little blurry. I was questioning, why have a generation ship that is ship shape? Is it just because people like the shape of ships? They like that spaceship look. They like that, so you look like you're part of the Star Wars fleet or part of the Star Galactica fleet. Because it doesn't seem to me to be the most sensible shape to make. A sphere would be the best for certain kinds of things, but the layers would be different size. You smaller layers. Each level with a big layer at the middle and a smaller again. Which could be good if you have a desire to have that kind of a situation. But to me, I think cube is really the best shape there is. It's easy to construct. It's the maximum interior space for your shape. So I thought I'd ask the viewers of this video, if you were to build a generation ship, would you go for the retro, I need it to look like a ship kind of design? Would you go for a purely pragmatic design, such as a sphere or a cube? Or would you go for a much more realistic spinning cylinder so that the gravity is no longer an issue, but then you really couldn't have a lot of the science fiction tropes, the crew not knowing they're on a vessel and having to discover the reality of their situation kind of thing? So what do you like in your generation ships?